Hey, Nnenna, welcome to the show.
Hi, Brittany. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it is a pleasure to have you on the show. I heard that you were not sure you were femtech. Um, I think you're femtech. What do you think? Still on the fence?
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, okay. So, in the startup ecosystem, when I was looking into all the terminology and just trying to figure out where our niche was, I don't come from a traditional tech background. I'm actually getting another master's in business analytics to have that technical background. But when I first launched the business, I was a non tech female founder, and obviously I'm Black. So I wanted to do something like when I was trying to deliver my value proposition, I wanted to position myself in a way that I was leveraging my strengths because coding and all that technical stuff back then, back when I launched, was not my strong suit. And I thought, especially, I was in the UK when I launched. So, especially in the UK environment, they're heavy in like health tech, industry, insurance tech, property tech, all that good stuff. I'm like, it kind of intimidated me. So like I just stood away from that. But now that I'm more familiar with it, I'm getting more comfortable with that idea. But it's a touch and go. Let's see how this is type of relationship.
Well, I think that it's interesting you think that femtech requires technology because sometimes it's just tampons. Tampons are femtech, right? There's nobody out there coding tampons, right? Like,
You know what? You know what? That's true. That's true. And it's also depends on like who you ask, right? Because I recently tried to raise around, it was a dumpster fire. But when you're racing around with investors, most investors are white men. Spoiler alert. Like when you say femtech, they're expecting some type of technology, and because most investors, that's their framework and they're white men and they expect technology, the definition of femtech all of a sudden incorporates technology inherently, because the people who are investing in femtech expect some type of technology. So it is defined by the white male investor gaze, for a lack of better words, because that's literally where the investment comes from.
yeah, and most of them think femtech is just females in technology. Like they can't. We are broadening their horizons for them
Yeah.
to realize that using the words women and technology in the same phrase doesn't always just mean isn't it great women are in tech. It's actually like we need to think about women are technology for women and how does it apply to them and how does it improve their life or not improve their life, like just the other day I posted on LinkedIn an article that said crash dummies for car testing. It wasn't until 10 years ago that they made the first ever female dummy. And so women are more likely to die and more likely to be injured in car accidents because all of the tests for decades have been done on male dummies. And so, yeah. And so, yeah, when I talk about tech, I'm talking about like a dummy that has breasts. That's what I'm talking about.
That is gross oversight. That there's no excuse for that.
And
There's no
it's still
excuse for that. I don't care.
it's
Like
still not even
anyway, I'm speechless.
required. It's actually legally not even required that they have to use the female dummy. It's just that one was finally made 10 years ago. Yeah. So crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy stuff. Well, let's
It's it's crazy. I'm just speechless. I'm just speechless. Keep going. Because
okay.
men and women's bodies are different, right? So
Yep.
if you put them into a critical situation like a car accident, you can expect that a female body might respond differently because typically they're smaller or they're anyway.
Yep.
I'm just okay. Okay, keep going.
So let's kick off the interview. Already I could tell we're gonna be friends, but let's kick off the interview with your background. Our listeners love to learn more about our guests, where they're from. It sounds like you were in the UK for a little bit, but like sounds like American.
Yes.
So tell us about your background. What did you study? Did you have a career before this? And how did you end up here?
Did I have a career before this? Yes. I am a huge nerd. I worked in the higher education industry as an entrepreneur. I taught students how to go to college, grad school, or trade school scholarships. I've personally earned over $100,000 in scholarships to go to college and grad school. So right now, in May, I'm going to have 4 degrees. Out of the 4 degrees I have, I paid for one of them. So scholarships have been a really, really huge asset in my life. And before this, I love traveling. I love culture. I love people. So I lived in Mexico for a minute. I lived in South Korea for a while. I was in London. I love traveling in general. I love, like, because I'm a nerd, I'm very curious, and I love literature. Like, I love books. I love talking about books. I love talking about the culture. So I wrote a book. I wrote 3. I published my 3rd book last year. I'm a poet. I'm a writer. I speak 2.5 languages, so English, Spanish, and I'm learning Korean. I'm almost fluent in Korean. Um, yeah, I enjoy book clubs and
Incredible.
museums, talking to people. My education background, I got my first 2 bachelors at the University of Houston, all on scholarships, a BBA in marketing and a BA in liberal arts because I am a nerd. I love culture. And then my first master's I got in London, at Holt International School of Business. I have a master's of science in international business. And my second master's, I'm graduating in May. I'm getting a master's of science in business analytics. So
Oh
that's me.
my God. May I ask how old you are?
I am 25.
Dude, you're amazing. And where are you living right now?
I'm in Oakland. I'm in Oakland right now.
Okay. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I, mm, I was a foreign exchange student in high school. I lived in France for a year. It totally changed my life because I finally realized the world did not look like Sussex County, New Jersey. Um, like it was a
Oh,
lot.
really?
Yeah, I know, crazy. And so I always am telling people you got to travel, if not for, pictures, but more
Yes,
so for like literally broadening your horizons in terms of what
yes,
is capable in the world, what is
yes,
possible in the world. Like I remember visiting Slovakia and they were like, "Oh, like this church is like was made in 400." And I'm like, "What do you like 400 years ago?" They're like, "Oh no, like the year 400." And I'm like,
400.
what does that even mean? Like, I don't even know what that means, you know?
Exactly.
And so, as an entrepreneur, when I think about what's possible, I'm like, dude, anything, anything. Yeah. Have you ever
Absolutely.
been to Rome? Like, they built things with
Exactly.
sticks and glue. Like, I'm like,
Yes.
oh, I can do
I
it.
love it because now here, X number of years later, my team is quite literally international, and I have the pleasure of being able to run an organization that can touch so many people and that can incorporate so many stories too. And for me, that's natural. I am used to talking cross culturally. I am used to
Mhm.
exploring different points of view and different mindsets. I'm used to not having my experience centered. I didn't have to go abroad to experience that, number one. But like being in South Korea, right? Like having my experience in context of something else, especially as a Black American, and then seeing what that means in literally a different language, a different culture, different norms. It's eye-opening, yes, but it's also fun and interesting. At least I think so
Yeah.
because I like stuff like that. And
Yeah.
obviously I'm learning Korean, so I'm a little biased. Like I really, really enjoy stuff like that.
Well, it sounds like you're like me in terms of like, I actually find being uncomfortable quite amusing. Like, oh,
Yeah.
it's a growth opportunity? How amazing. And then there's other people that are like, fuck growth and being uncomfortable, dude. Like,
Yeah. Like the best part about traveling is going to a place where you don't speak the language, you don't know where you're going, and then just landing there and developing yourself in a new way. You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like adapting who you are in this new context. Because what I've learned is that people, I mean, obviously people are different, but people are not as different as we make them out to be, right? Like
Mhm.
what people enjoy in South Korea and how people like to spend their time and connect with one another. It's the same thing in South Korea as in London, and it's the same thing in London as in Mexico. Yes, three different language, three different contexts, but people on a very fundamental level are the same and they have very similar desires. And when you build that, you can find your own community literally anywhere you go.
You are so cool. Seriously. All right. We're gonna be friends. Like we don't have a choice. We're gonna be friends. We're gonna travel the world. Tell me about Black Hair Management Company. When did you start it during this journey? Were you living in another country when you started it? Tell us about it.
Yes, actually, yes to both of them. I was in another country when I launched B.H.M. So to understand B.H.M, you have to understand where I was at. I was a higher education consultant for about 3 years, and then I decided to go to grad school in London. And at that time, personally, for me, Nnenna Umelloh, I was at a point of transition. I love education. I'm a nerd. I love school. I'm obviously getting my master's again. But at that time, even though I loved my career, I did not feel like I was growing anymore. Like as a higher education consultant, I published a book, I went on tour, I advised a political campaign, I did everything. I talked at schools, interviews, you know what I mean? I did everything that I wanted to do. And there came a point in my career, I was asking myself, what next?
Mm-hmm.
What do I want to do that I have not done yet?
Mm-hmm.
Like I've always been interested in politics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I advised the campaign. Great. Wanted to go on tour. Did that. Book. Did that. Interviews. Did that. I made an online course about scholarships. What next? What have I not done yet? You know what I mean? And even though I love school, I love education, I found myself getting complacent and kind of bored because I was just doing the same thing over and over again. And then there came this opportunity in my mind. I was like, what if I went complete 180? What if I went in a complete different direction, which was startup at the time, because I was like, oh, what if I could actually do this? What if I tried out this idea, something that I've been dealing with for years, and what would happen if I just tried it out? I'm going to a new country anyway. I might as well. Let's see what happens. So September 2019, I don't want to say abandoned, but I put to rest that part of my career. I closed that chapter. I have the online course. I'm monetizing my skill set that way, right? And I officially opened this new chapter in startup. And I got excited again because I was in a whole new world. You know what I mean? Exploring new politics, exploring new people, context. I learned very quickly what it meant to be a Black female founder, but I did not learn the reality of what that meant because I was brand new to startup. So I launched in the UK in September 2019. And I was very fortunate because I had 3 years under my belt as an entrepreneur. Like I'm not brand new to entrepreneurship, but I was brand new to startup ecosystem. I started working at an accelerator and doing grad school at the same time. And one thing led to another and things blew up. So in a good way. So yeah, that's how I got here.
So you said that you were solving a problem of which you had been dealing with. What was that problem?
So I've been natural for almost 10 years, but that doesn't mean I had any idea what I was doing. That doesn't mean I had any idea what I was doing. I went natural when I was 16. And to let you guys know, I was raised by a loving single father who is bald. So he couldn't really help me when it comes to going natural or what that meant. I had permed my hair for 16 years until I was just like, it's time for me to stop. I want to do something else. But I did not know how to take care of my natural hair. I did not know what my texture was. I grew up in a white suburban area. I thought that shampooing my hair every day was healthy. And I did not use any conditioner. And I did not even know what a deep conditioner was. It was so bad. It was so bad. And I had no idea like why my hair felt like straw. And it had some like self-esteem issues to incorporate into that, because I'd look at my hair and I literally felt defeated. And it's like something that physically grows out of your body. Like, you know what I mean? Like I felt defeated by something that comes naturally from me. And I am 16 years old. So it wasn't the most positive experience. You know, it took me years to realize that my texture is unique. based on my texture, I can't be doing things that you see on TV or you see in the media, you know what I mean? And back when I started going natural, I did not see a lot of women who look like me or were talking about my texture. So to give you some context, I have texture like Viola Davis and Lupita. Like they are my texture. I did not know that, but they are my texture. I would see other Black women, of course, but they had like these beautiful large curls, like
Mhm.
classic curls that you see on Instagram. That's not me. Literally, like my hair doesn't grow like that. And I was trying to get it to look like that. And it's never going to look like that without a wig. But I did not know that. And that was fucking me up. Sorry. But that was like messing up my mind.
Yep.
That was messing up my mind because I'm trying to attain this version of beautiful that I think is possible when it's physically impossible. Like my body does not do that. So it took me years to undo that in my mind.
Okay, a few questions, pretty naive questions, but so pre-natural, you said you were perming your hair. What does that mean? And like, what does that look like in the end? If I try to imagine you at 14 with permed hair, what does that look like?
Um, before, this is not good. Perming is basically the process of chemically straightening your hair so that it's easier to manage and you can braid it and you can lay it down. It's basically going from my kinky coily hair now to like really straight, not thick,
Okay.
but really bone straight hair. It's a chemical process. It literally breaks the protein bonds in your hair in order to get it straight. And it's not good. I was perming my hair for years because that's the culture. That's how I was raised. Literally since I was, I mean, 5, 4. I don't remember
Oh,
the
wow.
first time I got a perm. You know what I mean? And again, you shouldn't perm a 6-year-old. They're 6. These are chemicals. They can seep into your bloodstream. Don't do that. But again, I didn't know any better. You just go to the salon, get a perm, get braids, come back 6 weeks later, get it permed again. So I was getting my hair permed like every 6 weeks, 12 weeks for 16 years.
Wow.
16 years. And it's not good. It's not good for your hair or your body.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not realize how bad it was until I was 16. But then, like growing up and learning more about the chemicals, like it was messing up with my system. It is currently messing up with my system. And I did not realize just how bad it was until I was 21 and I developed polycystic ovarian syndrome. So yeah, it's not good. And that's basically what it is. It's a process to literally straighten your hair to make it easier to manage.
Or
I use that
whiter.
word
Is
easier.
that fair to say also?
What?
Is it fair to say that it also makes it whiter, like in terms of
Yes.
what societal beauty looks like? Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. I
I was like,
say
get here with my straight pink hair. It's like, oh,
it's so crazy. I was never taught how to take care of this from
yeah.
birth. So perming is easier because we literally learn how to do it from a young age, right? But
Mhm.
if I learned how to take care of what grew out of my head naturally, this would be easier. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? This would
Yeah.
be easier because I've been growing with this for since the day I was born, right?
Yeah.
Permed hair is not natural, but it's easier to take care of permed hair because we're conditioned that way. And it's harder to take care of hair that physically grows out of your body,
Simply because the
actually grows out.
solutions and the guides aren't available, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So another question I have was, you said, my hair is this texture, is this texture. Do we even have the right words for like your kind of hair versus other,
Mhm.
Black women and men's hair?
Yeah. So technically, it's like a 4C texture, and you can describe it as a kinky, coily, tight texture, tight coil. So there's a lot of stretch involved with this kinky, coily hair. So Lupita and Viola Davis, they have this kinky, coily texture. Beyonce has like a type 3 texture. It's these nice, beautiful curls that you probably see on Instagram. They're like an S shape. So that's a type 3 texture. Type 2 is more wavy, and then type 1 is bone straight.
Thank you again. Just naive questions. Like I didn't even know like there was words for this. Uh tell me about, I have some more black girl
Yes.
hair questions that I want to
Yes.
ask, but first let's talk about your company. So B.H.M, Black Hair Management, what
Yes.
solutions do you offer? What is the company do?
So we are actually a wellness brand that specializes in hair care. From personal experience, I know that you need more than just high quality hair care products to grow your hair, because hair care is a function of wellness and well-being. If you're stressed, if you're grieving, or if you're having a really good day, all those things, that mental health aspect of it does impact the health of your hair, right? And you know this, and everyone knows this inherently. Like when you just had a kid, you're stressed out, you're looking for a job, you're trying to take the bar exam, you're going to med school, your hair might be one of the first things that goes out the window, right? And we know that inherently, but when it comes to trying to take care of our hair, we focus a lot on products and taking chemicals out of your products, which is good. But we forget the other side of it. Your mental health, your physical health, your self-esteem, how you see yourself, your mindset, that is just as important as having the right products. And if you don't take care of both, you're going to have a hard time. I can give you $100 shampoo. I can give you top shelf deep conditioner. But if you just had a baby and you're going to med school at the same time, the products are not the problem. You are stressed. You need
Yeah.
a spa day. You know what I mean? So it's a holistic approach.
When I could see the imminent demise of my first startup and the stress started to build up and build up and build up, and I was literally living with what felt like an elephant on my chest. Like I just couldn't breathe. It was just like so intense. And then I would take these showers, and I mean clumps of hair, clumps of hair. And I would take a picture of me holding the hair of like after one shower, and I'd take a picture and like show my friends, and I'd cry. And I started to see like some balding, and like it was horrible. I was like,
Yes.
my life's falling apart and my hair's falling out. Like, what the hell,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
And
At the
it's
same
interesting.
time.
At the same time, what's interesting is I actually went to the physician because I was like, maybe I have a thyroid issue, because I apparently wasn't like woke enough to realize, oh, it's stress. I was like, I have a thyroid issue. I know it. And so I went to the
Yeah.
physician. We did blood work, totally fine and healthy in terms of like my stuff. But she said,
Yeah.
did you just have a baby? And I was like, no, did not just have a baby. She's like, because this is what happens when women just have babies. Are you sure? Like, and I was like, do you have any other ideas? Because I'm gonna let you know one more time, did not just have a baby. Like, but in it, and I went to like a woman who was like an acupuncturist, more naturopath, and she was like, oh, you're stressed as hell. Like you're just like releasing, you're shedding your
Yeah.
stress. And
Yeah.
so anyways, I've had personal experience with that, and it is like super jarring. And especially for women, we're so pressured on terms of our hair. And and me, I've always been very like a founder who's forward facing in my company, so it's like Google image, like I have an SEO, you can see me. And so like that stress of like people are gonna see me. Yeah. So what are the I'm assuming the self-care management is good for any kind of hair, right?
Yes.
Or is there
Yes.
some
Mental
specific
health is
self-care
good for you,
management?
period.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you sell specific products for black hair?
Mhm, mhm. Another thing that makes us different is from our competitors is that we're very intentional about how we help you grow healthy hair. So we understand that products work differently based on texture, and it's on a scientific chemical macronutrient level. So based on your texture, if you have 4C or 1A or 2B, etc., we give you products based on your texture and your lifestyle to help you grow healthy hair. It's very intentional. So on our website, you know who our brand partners are because we tell you, it's not a secret. What the value we have to offer you is that it's a very intentional, guided process toward hair growth. Because I'm fully aware that we're not the only hair care subscription service there, but we are the only wellness brand that specializes in hair care. And we are very intentional. So you know what's coming. We guide you through the process so you can have healthy hair.
Mhm. What does healthy hair look like?
Healthy hair feels like good, like a good spa day. Healthy hair feels like you are like, you're cognizant of where you are. You feel whole, you know what I mean? You feel centered. That doesn't mean everything in your life is going well, right? But like, you yourself are a full human being operating in purpose. And it feels like you're hydrated. It feels like you're full. And the reason why I emphasize how you feel is because your hair is a function of your mental and physical health, right? So it feels hydrated, it feels soft, it feels warm, it feels familiar. Like when you're putting like something very simple that we take for granted, simply running your hands through your hair and knowing what's going on there, right? Like knowing how moisturized and hydrated hair feels like, and knowing what to expect if you haven't had a glass of water in the past 2 weeks, because that will impact the health of your hair. Drink water, you know what I mean? You need to take care of yourself, right? But having that knowledge, that confidence of knowledge, that's what healthy hair feels like. You are not afraid of waking up in the morning, looking in the mirror. You don't feel defeated because you know what's going on. You know how to take care of what's growing out from you. So that's what healthy hair feels like.
I love that so much, because you literally just turned my question back on me, that it's not what it looks like, it's how it feels. I love that.
Literally.
Yeah, because the look will come. And like, also the look is,
So,
as we covered, is societal based and like ridiculous, right?
yes.
Like,
Yeah.
um,
And it's a function of how you feel. Like before this interview, I was in Bantu knots. I wanted to do a twisted, I wanted to like blow out my hair and do a little bit of an afro. So I took out the Bantu knots into the afro, right? Like how it looks is a function of how you feel. Do you want twists? Do you want braids? Do you want an updo? You know what I mean? You have the ability to do any of that, but healthy hair is based on how you feel.
So I have some additional Black girl hair questions. Um, do you notice that people without permission touch your hair more now, that it's more textured rather than when it was straight?
Ooh, how much time you got, Brittany? How much time? How much time? How much time? How much time can we we cannot stay on this podcast all day. Yes.
Ah,
Let's go with the short answer. Yes. Now, post COVID, now that I'm not going anywhere, no, right? But before, in normal times, yes. When I was in South Korea, I had a little more patience because some of the older Koreans, like I'm talking 80s, 90s, literally have never seen a Black person in person. Like
yeah.
I've never seen a Black individual. And I'm talking about like they're 95, 82, the older generation. So sometimes they would like grab my hair and I'm like, okay. Like if I move too fast, I might snap your wrist and I don't want to do that. So
Yeah.
I get that. But in an American context, there is no excuse. I don't care how old you are. If you're 85 years old, you have seen a Black person before, don't touch. It's not a petting zoo. So yes, there has been that issue. There has been that issue, but I just keep it moving. Like I swipe away. I establish my boundaries and I move on because typically I'm too busy for that type of nonsense.
Yeah, yeah. I just think so. I personally, like a lot of my listeners know, I'm pretty candid on here. I am not perfect at all. Far from it.
Yeah.
And there was a few years in
Yeah.
Houston. My best friend was she was half Black, half white. And she had kinky hair, but it was like tight curls. You could kind of see the curl, the spiral. And I can remember we became really, really good friends. And one time we were out on a run or something, and she was saying, "Oh my God." And then this person like touched my hair without my permission. And I was like, "Oh my God, why would they do that?" But I flashed back to the first time I ever met her, and I remember doing it myself. Like, like meeting her for the first time, being like, "Whoa, your hair is like really different and fun and cool," and like just touching it.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with me?" Like, I even did that, you know? And now that I'm like really close to her, I'm like, that's horrible. Like, why would anyone touch you without your permission? Like, that's trash.
Yeah.
But it made me question me. And it made me question, like, why is it that since it's different hair, all of a sudden, like, permission isn't required? It's like, no. That's like someone's body.
That body, literally. Literally. It's
Yeah.
part of my body. You can't touch my body without talking to me about it first.
Yes. And the other question I had for you, this one's a little personal, but also let's just make it in general. Like,
Yeah.
do Black women struggle with the care of their pubic hair too?
Okay, so for me, I don't know, I guess I'm pretty new age when it comes to pubic hair. I like my pubic hair, but it also depends on like what mood I'm in. I also enjoy like a good Brazilian wax. Now, when it comes to pubic hair though, when I was going through puberty, when I was growing through that, I had issues with ingrowns, like sincere issues. And back when I was younger, I did not know how to talk about it because my hair is so kinky and coily. It
Mm,
will grow into the pubic area. And that's why I would get like bikini waxes,
yeah.
like not bikini waxes, Brazilians. That's why back in the day when I was young, I used to use those chemical hair removers on
Mhm.
my pubic area. Don't do that. I was young. I did not know better. I did not read the label. But like it would hurt so much. Like you would get those ingrowns. And I did not know how to talk about it because I was 18, I was 17, I was 20 years old. I was super young. And it would hurt. And just like I had to, when I finally like got the nerve to talk about it and just realized it's just normal body hair, right? I learned that like I have to almost like condition it, you know what I mean? Like kind of like how I treat my hair on top. I just have to be more careful and take care of that hair too. And like literally like massage it, brush it, take
Mhm.
care of the skin underneath it, because those ingrowns can get painful. And
Yeah.
like I would exercise them, like take a couple of tweezers and just start plucking it out, because they can hurt, like they can dig into your body. And
Infected and
for a long time, like, I experienced like shame around that because it just made me so uncomfortable and walking around and stuff. And I did not know how to talk about it. Now
yeah.
I do because I'm 25.
Yeah.
But back then it was an issue.
Because I once listened to How I Built This, and it was the founder of a company where it was like a special kind of razor for black men's facial hair. And he
Yes.
was talking about how black men's facial hair like grows in different, and like regular razors like results in these bumps, and they like were using Nair on their face, and he's like, we need to do something. So I guess I was kind of wondering, like, I mean, I have yet to come across, and maybe this is I have not actually straight up Googled this, but like black women's pubic hair care
Yeah.
company, because
That,
like I can imagine like the expectations of the society of like it should be clean, but
yeah.
like if you're telling me that black girls pubic hair is similar to how it grows on their head, I can imagine a lot of issues, and like and I don't hear anyone talking about that.
Yeah. And like, I don't either. And at least not publicly like this. And
Mm-mm.
personally, I did this. That's why I'm recommending against it. Don't shave. The worst thing you can do is shave. The worst thing you can do is shave. Also, don't use chemical hair remover. I know, saying it out loud. Of course not, but I did.
But
Don't do
what
it.
else
It's
would you
not
think
good
your
for you.
options would be, right? Like if you weren't listening to this exact episode, what would you think? You know, like there, yeah,
Tweezers, Brazilian, like just like waxing it all off and then having an esthetician like go through it and like pluck out the rest, you know what I mean? Like exercise that. And then doing like like a sugar scrub to exfoliate, and like having like a little serum on top to cool the skin and stuff. Like honestly, a spa day treatment, if it's really, really bad for you, that's what I would recommend. And then keeping that area like nice and dry, not dry, but you know, like
yeah,
air it out,
yeah.
take care of yourself, and keep track of it, and try to like do that routine depending on how fast your hair grows, but do that routine as the hair grows out, so you can take that out and prevent those ingrowns from coming in, so that when your hair grows back, and if you enjoy a nice full bush, it won't grow back into your pubic hair. And if it does, then do the process again. It's so painful. It's so painful. I really do feel you. And that's such it's it's interesting when you bring that up, because I have not heard of a startup
And
or
you're in
any
black hair management, right?
that is such, I could diversify into that,
Yeah,
because
dude.
I have women on my team who have that experience. I mean, we all have that experience, but like scientifically who understand how it grows. That is such a good idea.
I really hope you become a unicorn company and one day you're like getting interviewed by Guy Raz and he's like, so like, where did you start? And you're like, well, it used to start with the head hair, but then I talked to this lady. She asked me about her pubes. And it changed
And
everything.
I decided to turn my attention to the vulva.
Well,
the pubic bone.
well,
We need attention there too.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm so grateful that I love how these conversations go because like this wasn't me pitching you an idea. It was like legitimately asking, like, I don't have in my life currently a close enough Black woman friend for me to ask her openly about her pubes. Like I openly talk about vulvas, but I also am very respectful of like, I just talk about mine. And if you want to talk about yours, like you offer that up. I'm not, going to probe. So I really appreciate you letting me ask because I was like, also like, maybe there's all these products I just don't know about out there, but it sounds like this is actually a huge opportunity.
Yeah, it is a huge opportunity, something that I'm going to consider and actually do some research into.
Like, but I gotta go end the interview. I gotta go do some research. What are some of the future goals for Black hair management?
So right now, our focus is brand awareness and building trust because me personally, as a founder, I am very analytical. I'm very systematic. I like to be organized. I spent the first year from September 2019 until like our customer facing launch, November 2020, validating our business model. I did not start off as a subscription D2C model. I think I was marketplace for a little bit. I was doing a B2C model. I was validating my business model, I was validating my revenue model, and I was doing so on a budget. So it took me a year to validate all of that. And I did all of that in the UK. So now November 2020 came along and we opened up the customer facing piece. And I realized that no one knows who I am. I spent a year researching them, validating this business model, building brand partnerships, all the boring stuff that no one really cares about. But now I need to spend the next year really building up our audience because the natural hair community is a loud, crowded community. And it's also expensive. So since we're less than 2 years old, I need to invest more time in getting people to know us. So like I want to be more on more platforms like yours and be featured in more editorials and just get people to really understand our values and what we stand for because we are a wellness brand. And one thing that I'm really proud of and passionate about our brand is that we know it is short-sighted to be a wellness brand without addressing the systemic issues that injure our well-being. So I'm really, really loud when it comes to social advocacy, social justice. I love collaborating with organizations like She Should Run when it comes to increasing female representation, because that matters. And that's going to help our well-being in the long run. So we're a different brand. And my goal for the next year is getting people to understand what we stand for.
Oh, I love it so much. However we can help you, we're going to help you. Like, this is so important. I have two last questions for you that our listeners really love. The first one is, if someone wanted to start a femtech company, what's an area in women's health and wellness that still needs innovating?
Other than pubic hair.
Yeah, I was
pubic
like, other than what, that's
like,
already taken. Okay.
Other than pubic hair. Oh, that's such a good question. What needs innovating? Okay. A part of my platform is like ending colorism, literally, and seeing like understanding the beauty that comes in different shades. Because my background, I'm an Igbo woman, my family's Nigerian, and colorism is an issue in the African diaspora. So it would be such a wonderful social justice initiative if we had, I don't want to call it media, but if we had a way of like reprogramming our biases to understand and recognize the beauty in all shades, you know what I mean? Like from the darkest hues to the lightest tones. And I'll give you a personal example. My niece, she's super light skinned, still Black. And then I also have friends who are super, super dark as well. sometimes even within our own community, we don't recognize the light skinned brown girls as brown girls. Black comes in different shades. Like I'm relatively fair tone in a Igbo Nigerian context, but there are women who are lighter than me and they're still Black. And there are women who are darker than me and they're still Black. And me and she being darker than I am doesn't make her more Black than I am. And my niece being lighter than I am doesn't make her less Black than I am. And somehow like something to help us recognize that these different shades are all Black and all gorgeous in their own way. And I'm talking in a technical space, because are you familiar with the Facebook AI recognition tools and the issues they have with recognizing Black people? Right. Yeah. We need to recognize different shades of Black, not just for our own mental health, but like when facial recognition becomes more widespread, which I believe it will. Like, we can slow it down because there are issues with that programming, but I don't think we can eliminate it. I believe that facial recognition to an extent will be used by governments around the world in the next 30 years, right? So instead of trying to stop it, we need to incorporate different faces into that algorithm, starting with us. Like, we need to recognize different shades of Black and then incorporate that into the technology that's going to be part of our everyday lives. So that's my long answer.
I think it's super, super important. In fact, it reminds me of a episode on NPR's Rough Translation, Throughline Rough Translation, that just came out the other day, was saying they're telling these stories of people who in Brazil, they're considered.
I listened to the episode.
Yeah, and then they were considered Black in Brazil, but then when they came to the US and they identified as someone of color, like everyone was like, no, you're white, dude. And then it's just all these stories of like, based on where you are, like you're considered different race, and it actually had like consequences in terms of how you were treated, or whether if there was one girl who was like half Mexican, and like in the summer she'd get really tan and be discriminated against, but in the winter she would like lose her tan a little bit and then have more privileges. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, so interesting. Yeah, I don't know the solution to that, but I totally support it, because if we are not comfortable in our skin, identifying with whatever it is, knowing what our hair is supposed to be naturally versus what chemicals, do to it, our health and wellness, it has consequences for it. Yeah. Our last question is, what do you think the femtech industry as a whole needs the most right now in order to be successful?
Oh, more Black female founders.
Yes.
More women, more, like, y'all, it is hard out here. There's not many of us out here. We are very supportive of our own. If you are a Black woman, folk, person, please come in. Please, we need your ideas. We need your support. We need your prayers. Lord, these people are trying to try us. They truly are trying. Oh my goodness, but do not let them take away your edges. It's not worth it. Like, we need y'all. Please come in droves. Take over the Capitol. Come on, come. I am calling you. We need you now. Come. This is your sign. Come. We need you.
I absolutely love it, because we interviewed Kimberly Seal Ailes from like almost a year, maybe not a year ago, but like back in like September, August. And she was one of our first Black guests. And I said, I've been really struggling to find other Black female founders in femtech. Like, how can I find more? And she was like, you're not looking hard enough, and you're not looking in the right places. And like, she told me people can go back. It's our bonus episode on Black maternal health, but you can go back and listen. She like let me have it in the interview. Like, you're just not looking hard enough. And I was like, duly noted. Okay. And like, now when we since that, like we've had, I think, a very great diversity in our speakers, but we had to start looking different places instead of PitchBook, instead of Crunchbase. We looked at local forums and blogs, you know, like different community groups,
Yeah.
rather than like, let's see who's in Silicon Valley. It's like, well then, girl, you're fishing from one
Silicon
pond,
Valley,
you
man.
know, like.
I'm not in Silicon Valley. If you looked in Silicon Valley, you would not find me.
Yep, exactly. And so we're just broadening our horizons, and obviously you're addressing something that's unique to, you know, something you've experienced, right? I'm not going to start that company. Like, right? Like, so you just let us know how we can support you. This has been such a fun interview. You're amazing. You're awesome. Fantastic work.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I love open, honest conversations like this. This is my jam. So thank you.